I've always had a huge fascination with fast cars, the whole adrenaline rush. The faster you go, the further you push the car to its limits, the more you're gonna find out where your limits are. This whole thing is probably the most challenging thing I've ever done. It's equivalent to, getting thrown into the ocean in a pool of sharks and not knowing how to swim. I've always had a huge fascination with fast cars, the whole adrenaline rush. In the video games growing up, it was always Porsche for me from the beginning. It was like Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit 2. Everyone would be driving Lamborghinis or Ferraris or this and that, but I would pick that little yellow Porsche. Something about the 911 design just spoke to me. The first Porsche I purchased was actually a GT4. It came in GT4. So true story, I went in to do a test drive, had no intention of buying it. Let me just go test drive this car I want, get motivation, start working hard for it. And what happened was I did a test drive and I bought it on the spot. The car on the test drive was so good that I'm like, I can't keep driving what I'm driving. I miss that car because on the road, that GT4's limit is sort of the person. It was just every sort of feeling, every sort of, moment of failure, moment of success, when you're handling the car, you felt it. The car, it made you feel alive. So this car behind me is a 911 GT3 RS, and I love it. Any of the GT cars aren't really meant to do top speed or acceleration, they do it pretty well. But their main focus is they're the track cars that you can drive on the street, you can drive to the track and then hop on the track and it's already ready to go. There's not sort of any cars out of the box besides the Porsche GT cars where it's a non-issue going from street driving to track driving. I got the call from FaZe and my agent saying, hey, do you want to do sim racing professionally? So the first event is in 5 days in Poland. And I'm like, I've never been to Poland before, but this is everything that I wanted. The org I wanted to be with the sponsor I wanted to be with. So I asked them a question. You realize I'm gonna get crapped on. I will not be able to compete with these guys right now. I don't know if it's gonna be 6 months or 6 years. I don't know when it's gonna happen. And they're like, yeah, we know, we're expecting that. I was like, all right, I'm in. It's crazy to me because it all happened in 1 week and flew across the world, sort of got obliterated. The races themselves were 20 minutes each, 2 races. So I flew across the world to get smoked for 40 minutes. But man, did I have fun. I had a lot of fun. This whole thing is probably the most challenging thing I've ever done. I retired for it. That was something I was willing to put down everything I know and everything I've done and, sort of pursue a new passion. So it was a different sort of esport that I was jumping into with a different sort of skill set. My biggest tip for a beginner, be curious about how to go fast, because in order to go fast, you have to learn a lot of things. I just braked 5 inches later, what do I do? Or I just braked 5 inches earlier, what do I do? My tires are shot, what do I do? If you don't have that knowledge, then you won't know what to do. So I would say be less worried about copying what the best are doing and more curious about how the cars actually work and handle. Yesterday, we went to Motorsports Ranch out in Crescent, Texas. It's a 3.1 mile long track day. To me, that track, at least in Texas, is the best combination, the best setup. It's sort of always a combination of elevation, low speed corners, mid speed corners, high speed corners. It was a lot of fun, and it's been a while since I've gone. It was eye-opening to me because I learned so much. Like all that 7 months of training in sim racing. In sim racing in the game, I basically drive the race car version of this car. And all the physics, everything about the car from in the game feels exactly the same in that. The difference between sim racing and driving on track, you definitely have the inertia. It's completely different. When you're sim racing, you have no inertia. So you have less feeling of the car. You don't really know what it's doing other than, feedback getting relayed to your hands and visual, but you don't have any feeling of what in between your ears. Your equilibrium doesn't exist in sim racing. Another one would be consequences. You crash in sim racing, you press the reset button. Here, your reset button might be 6 months. It might be your car is completely totaled. Or, it could be a couple hours, who knows? Number 3 would be the risk of just the human factor of I'm in danger. Doesn't really exist in sim racing, where in real life, it's like the faster you go, the further you push the car to its limits, like the more you're gonna find out where your limits are. I went to all these places all over Europe. I went from Munich for the sim racing tournament. The next stop was in Nürburgring. Stuttgart was incredible. So we saw the factories. What they told us was it was basically a full city. And it was a full city. They had their own Porsche ambulances. What was really weird to me was there's a whole bunch of delivery robots, bringing parts from point A to point B. And they were not operated by anything. They were just Wallies driving around. I was extremely interested in the motorsport aspect, and we, had a meeting where it was not only us, the talent, but also the production with the head of motorsport at Porsche. And this was right after Le Mans, which I went to, saw, that the race didn't go as planned, it didn't go well. And, I remember just noticing just little things from data, the charts. And in the meeting, he was talking about the mistakes they made at Le Mans. I raised my hand like a dork. Do you guys think you lost Le Mans because of the top speed on the straights? And I was like, I saw a 27 kilometers per hour difference on the straights between you guys and the winning Ferrari. And he's like, I think he was caught off guard by it. It was cool to me because he's like, that's a great question. Thank you for that. That's why we lost. We're working on it. That was the one moment that I thought was pretty interesting because I knew that was the reason why they lost, because in sim racing, that's the Porsche's strength, is top speed. I think there will be a day when I actually start racing for real. I'm sort of fully committed at this point. I've given up a content creation or a production career in Call of Duty to do this. It's just something I've always had passion for, I've always wanted to do. And right now I'm fully dedicating my life to it.